Okay.
All right, go.
Okay. The last, I want to start out with, last time I had mentioned PTC and how there's going to be probably be some passenger impacts. So it's interesting because a number of board members, including myself, asked that question at this month's board cycle because the schedule for PTC dies in December. It's coming up in December. Like, there's no schedule as to when the other branches will be implemented. I guess next week there will be. And there was nothing about service except to say that Metro North has shown some real service impacts, not that serious, but certainly their equipment is not performing up to their goal. It's interesting enough, Metro North, believe it or not, as bad as service is on, well, service is not as better on Metro North, that's the actual on-time performance, but our equipment, our electric equipment, and even our diesel equipment, I believe, is performing better than their equipment, and they're attributing that to PTC. Because they implemented PTC in a different way. They're using it for speed control much more than we are. I think they're having more failures. So I think that's something we should be looking to see. Something we may have starting next year. So Port Washington branch, that's where they're going to have PTC. So that's going to be an issue. And then even a year from now, I would guess that I hope not, but I would guess that from Harold through up to Penn Station might be some on-time performance issues. So, but that I think we're going to. I'll email people like next week because I think there's going to be a PTC briefing with a new schedule, and I'll send that to everybody so everybody knows. And hopefully, we'll be telling passengers about it. They'll be telling passengers about it. In the next few weeks. I know Metro North hasn't either, so it's getting up to that, and it'd be good to tell people, that with it. And there's talk of lengthening schedules as well. I don't know if the railroad's going to see that. Metro North probably definitely will. I don't know if the railroad will see that. Well, that's one issue. The projects are moving along. They're really going full speed ahead with third track, which is good to see. There's going to be passenger impacts there, but those will be announced. Those are planned. And it's
the first one is
oh, there you go.
November 26th, I believe, at CarPlay Station. A staircase is going to close.
Yeah, well,
that's like a minor one, but that's the first.
Well, that is an impact if you're at Carl Place, right? I was thinking, train impacts, but
if I can also, since you brought that up, but I can let the riders know why it's being closed. It's for a good reason, because it's when you close things down and nobody knows why. It's for the anger. And I'm going to bring up the issue, I'm sorry, just because you see this congestion in Penn Station when you come off the 1, the 2, the 3 over here, the way you get pushed off into Corral. No one knows why it's going on. It's probably because there's good construction planned for a good reason, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
but by not telling everybody, it's just there's a real anger. People are rushing for their trains. They're hitting each other. I don't know if you've been there during the rush
The
hour.
rules change.
You should,
every other day. It's
you
a
should
different.
walk. You should really
You're
walk
talking
over
about
there.
the transit ESI
yeah, the transit
program.
project,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and the transit hasn't put up signs.
But
should wrap the
even you
the
should
boards.
just maybe because it's affecting the long riders immensely coming through. My point is just basically if you let people know why it's happening for a good reason, there's better feeling than just the stairwell closes down. It's not what's going on with this. So I'm just ahead of time, let's roll it out in a way that's positive.
Yeah, CarPlays were planned to be actually leafleting the customers at the station that use it before we close that staircase. People that use that staircase are going to be out there leafleting them in advance. And the first day. So they understand why, answer questions, not just put a poster that nobody's going to look at.
But Mark's point is very apt here because especially in this place, we interact with Amtrak. We interact obviously with New York City Transit. The set that New York City Transit is an MTA agency, and he's right. I walk over there. I know what's going on.
So I'll bring it up to the team at Transit because when we were there, that's what's supposed to be done on those boards. We had the drawings on all the SI things outside so people could view what the future looks like. So we could talk out, we could reach out to Transit and ask them to put some of those images on the boards for sure.
Big, so that people can see them without stopping.
Oh, these were, the whole notion is we're tired of the old, plywood. Let's put some visual graphics on it with regards to what it will look like when it's done.
Yeah, but that ESI program, they should have put something up. It's so heavily used. Oh well, hopefully Transit will do that. Anyway, since the president is here, there's not anything else. Unless there's something else.
From my understanding, is that the community office is opening on.
Oh, for third track?
Yep, that it's opening next week or in the
I don't know
next
the date,
few
but
weeks.
so for third track in Mineola, we're going to have a storefront space on Old Country Road, a few blocks away from the station.
That's
Where it's going to be just a space actually, you guys should maybe host a meeting there one time. We're gonna have like public events, bring school kids, any type of meeting. We have to meet with elected officials, we have to meet with the community. Anybody else wants to use the space, it's gonna be available.
And when is that open?
It's gonna open soon, I don't know, but
And what's the purpose of it? I mean, it's just a meeting?
it's a project, community office for the project. So as a way of
For
educating people
third
about the but for us, we own it, so we can use it for other things.
So my recognition is, remember when you did that for Second Track around Compton, you had all those pictures of it, and you had the billboard member in the room? And what you also had, they had quotes from everybody who supported the project, including one from the council, and it was put on a wall. And people coming through it saw that the community council and the politicians, you had them put up in that room to explain that it was really a project everybody was supporting. You have that now, you might as well think of doing something like that.
There probably are, but it's building off of the strong community input during the EIS process. The original community, the community office was in the Mineola station at the time, and if you just look in there now, you could still see boards and all the stuff that was marketing the project.
Well,
But we could make
we weren't
sure.
asked for that, we weren't. But I know with Second Track we were, and civic groups, everyone had, blown up of a quote supporting the project. I thought, I have pictures of it, but I think it was a good mix, just not, so if you're gonna do one, you might as well think of doing it. Do you want to finish up anything before we?
No, let's go ahead.
Is there anything else in the
Not the, I thought,
fair hearing, anything you want to talk about?
fair hearings? Why?
Did
Yes,
they-
the fair hearings are scheduled. I forgot when the Long Island one is. There's only one on Long Island in Suffolk.
Right, Melville.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that's wrong. There's 3 on Long Island because there's one in Melville, there's one in Queens, and one in Brooklyn. So those are on Long Island, and they're all in mid to late November and early December. If anybody, and I think we're preparing testimony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're also
So-
we're gonna do video testimony sites, so
Oh, you are?
we're gonna do Ronkonkoma, Jamaica, and Penn Station.
Oh, I'd love to see.
How are you
that.
letting people know about that?
It's gonna be advertised as part of the fair hearing process.
Last time you did it also, I think, at Mineola and Hicksville, didn't they?
Well, I was gonna
We had
say,
done
why not
Hicksville
have,
Last time you did that.
why not have one in Nassau if we're not? And Hicksville, with all the work that's been done there, why not have one then?
Well, Mineola's a good spot. You're not gonna have it at Mineola?
I'm being told where we're having it.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I guess our.
I'll bring that back.
Yeah, bring that back.
In
Mineola's a good
response to
spot.
that, if I can say that our recommendation, since there is no fair hearing in Nassau County, that you add some Nassau County places to have the video to make up for that. That would be our recommendation. I'd rather say it to you than to Newsday, so I'm saying it to you. We're waiting for 2 more people, but I'm just not gonna wait, okay?
It's up to
If
you.
you don't mind if.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's already 5 o'clock.
So, I think everyone knows. Is there any of you met? Have you met?
We've met, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
No, appreciate the invite.
I know you have a lot to do, but you're gonna give us a little bit overview of, I guess, the winter preparation
Sure.
and I guess this laser leave thing that we read about somewhere, right? This Star Wars thing.
Well-
And maybe you can just, whatever else you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, the winter prep actually and the fall prep has started even when I first got to the railroad back in April. Part of the whole thing was looking at the whole proposed performance improvement plan that was being laid out there. And in some cases, I thought some of it was good, but some of it needed to be more aggressive, and some of it was more reactive than the attempt that I'm trying to be is be more proactive, address issues before they occur. So with regards to fall, the improvement of the wheel truing capabilities is a nice thing, and it's a good thing, and it's essential. But it also means you have flat wheels already after the fact. It means that the slip slide has impacted us, and even with the extra capabilities, if we were to have that kind of wheels going out as we did last year, we're going to be in trouble regardless. So, my task was to how do we minimize it, and so we enhanced the guidance and training of the engineers, and we brought them all in, and we walked through the whole low adhesion operating rules, and we did that as a much more focused, not that they don't remind them every year, but we wanted to remind them in a much more, what would be the word, like a teaching manner, training, and just make sure that they understood how important this was. In addition to that, we looked at how can we better remove the leaves, remove the pectin that causes the low adhesion. Right now it's last year It was the pressure wash at very low speeds, and we can only do it at night. And one of the things, we had brought in a firm from Network Rail who works with the UK. And in the UK, they're able to do it at 60 miles an hour with higher pressure. And we were trying to do that, but to get the equipment was not possible for this fall. We're working towards next fall for that. But what we're able to do is double the pressure, the PSI, by working with some technology and increasing the speed from, I think it was like 9 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a difference in terms of being able to better wash the leaves and the pectin residue. And we've been doing that for the last several weeks. Every night the trains are going out and doing that. The other thing that we we wanted to try a new technology. It's using laser equipment, and it's essentially a pilot. And it was a company that developed the idea. We thought it was a low cost, worth the risk to do. The material's here, it's being installed, and we'll start testing that tomorrow. We had hoped to start testing it at the end of October, but it got caught up in customs, some of the materials. But now we have it all in our possession. It's being installed over the weekend, and we'll hope to start testing next week. And that, we've seen the demonstrations that it actually removes the pectin. It brings it down to clean steel. And again, if this is fruitful, there's another version that took longer to do that will go at higher speeds. And that could be something for next year, if, again. Regardless, it will remove it. It's just a matter of how effective we could be at the lowest speeds. So, more training, more proactive pressure washing, higher speeds, and then a new technology. The idea is to prevent flat wheels, not fix flat wheels. So, that's what we're doing in the fall. The other part that helps it is, from the beginning, part of the performance improvement plan was to, make sure we performed all the tree overgrowth clearing. And at the time, I don't know if you recall, the railroad had talked about doing 90 miles this year and then 90 miles of clearing next year. I said, well, if it's important, why don't we accelerate it? Let's do it all this year. We're at, I think, 177 miles or 170 miles done. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're almost at the 180. And, we've been through several storms. And knock on wood, the clearing has helped. We've not had the trees coming down and the branches coming down like we've had in the past. And the other benefit is obviously we've cleared a lot of shrubbery with leaves that would have come down. So we're minimizing that risk too. So that's all of the things that we're doing with regards to windstorms, weather,
The
fall.
poles too, the lipo poles.
Yeah, well that's, I look at that more, well that's fall and winter. The other storm-related type things, as Hector mentioned, when I first got here, I sat down with PCAC because that's a partner that we need their support to produce reliable service. And in the past, and even early on, some of the way we've announced information, it looks like we're blaming them. I told them I don't want to be blaming anybody. We should be in this together. And they had talked about identifying last year 80 poles that needed to be replaced, and that they didn't have a full schedule on it, but they had a contractor, and the contractor would continue to do it until all 80 were done. So I challenged them. I said, if we were able to give you the flagging service, give you access, can you get all 80 done? And they are probably less than a handful left to do of the 80. I think it's 75, 76 of them have been replaced already. And again, that was something last year and this spring we had utility poles falling down on our tracks. Once these 80 are done, then they've accomplished everything that they needed to do based on their last inspection, and then we'll go through another cycle. But again, that wanted to be proactive and get them done before the severe inclement weather.
And this past weekend, with all the high winds, we didn't have any issues with trees or with power poles, right?
No, no. In fact, we stood up a statewide emergency center at the DOT's Traffic Inform Center in Hauppauge. Long Island Railroad was there. And we monitor everything. And we actually had Dan Eichhorn reach out to me in advance of the storm, so we keep regular communication to make sure if we need a stronger response, we are. But he assured me that they were on full alert and they had all hands on deck. So it's that kind of relationship that we're building with regards to not only handling smaller issues, but larger issues where something comes down. And then lastly, in preparation for the winter, the snow switch covers, right? The original intent was 20 this year, 20 next year, and 20 the following year. And they had tested one last year, I think, on the Port Jeff branch, and they found it successful. So I said, well, if they're successful and they help us better, use resources, why would we wait 3 years to get 60 of them done? I said, let's get them all done. And we are on target to finish all 60 by the end of November, right? So, it's, again, we're spending, we think we're saving money, but we're spending more money by responding to these things, and we're, not only from our perspective, time is money for our customers, right? Our riders are delayed. It's costing them in different ways. So, snow switch covers, that doesn't mean we still don't have to worry about them in severe storms, but allows us to put, our track workers at other switches to manually shovel and clear while we're battling it. Like, in any big storm we're stretched thin, particularly if it's across the whole island. If it's in a certain area, we can manage it differently, but when it's a Long Island spread storm, we are manning the ones that are more critical, the ones that are affect most lines, but this allows us to reallocate resources. Even double track, where that was not really necessarily intended just because of storms, gives us a lot more resiliency and redundancy through that, right? The fact now that the trains don't have to make the moves and switch tracks so frequently means we don't necessarily have to put resources there in the winter and freezing temps to man those switches. And we could, again, prioritize where we put people. So those are a number of things. Third rail heaters, we're accelerating that, right? Again, it's to address the freezing storms, the ice storms. That's being done. The conduits are going in, the wires are being pulled, insulating the manholes. We've had our components subject to salt and water intrusion in the manholes in Brooklyn along the Atlantic branch, and that's going to be complete as well. Trying to think what else have we done winter-wise.
In the past, there have been equipment that the railroads wanted, couldn't get, or was trying to get. Have you gotten everything you think that you need right now?
I just had a meeting with the whole team, not just operations, and we went through all the equipment. The equipment is in place, it's all functioning. I asked them if there's anything that we don't have, that we wish we had. They said no. So I did ask for a full inventory. I'm going to go through it again, but we've already been preparing for the first winter storm, because it's always that challenge, certain events, flurries, fine, we'll get through it. It's those ones that are borderline that, people are going into work, and you want to get them home, and you also know that you're getting to the point of, if we wait too long, we may not be able to get all the trains east. So it's that thing of how do you message in advance of the storms to use caution, to, in the worst case scenarios, if you don't need to be out there, don't go out. And then early on, as we're managing storms, we've been talking about how do we tell people in the morning, as we're monitoring it, we'll be having early release trains, and if you can take them, to do them, and if we ever get to that point, we think 3 hours is the time frame people need to know that the last train leaving Penn is 2 o'clock, right? They need enough time to get from their employment to Penn and on those trains.
A continuing problem is not just the train that are operating, it's the stations and the shoveling and the icing.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be improved in any way? Is it personnel? Is it equipment? Is it just time? Is it priorities? I don't know what works, but those are the pictures you see posted all the time of sheets of ice, on the stairs.
We are talking about how to prioritize that. Obviously, depending upon direction of travel, we'll prioritize eastbound, westbound, and depending upon the storm, the same folks who are doing the platforms are monitoring the tracks as well. So it's something that haven't had the full answer yet. They do have a plan on how they prioritize and where they tackle first, but I also know that in those worst storms, we need to find a solution to make sure that it can tackle all of them. So we're working on that piece.
There may be issues as far as liability, but is there a possibility of outsourcing some of it to get additional help on a bad storm to come in and really help, or is that something that?
I'm going to sit down with in-house, and then I'm going to sit down with the unions, and we're going to talk about it, because I do know the day, a few years back when I was at DOT, we supported the railroad with the DOT's wear and wind contractor, both in supporting some locals with parking lots as well as the platforms. But I want to make sure I sit down and do this appropriately. Obviously, I need the support of the union membership to be successful in however we approach this. I fully believe they want us to all be successful. So I just need to work through where our shortfalls are and how do we prioritize, and then how do we make sure that we have a backup plan.
I'm sorry to keep asking, but one of the issues that I've dealt with in the past is the way we can, before the storms come in, that you can reach out to the towns again and let them know that they need to shovel their parking lots. Although it's not responsibility, it's your right. They think it's you. Whether it's not you, they think it's you. So if there's any way that we can get preemptive, let's say, reminding you that, riders are using your lots, we need you to get out, just something that, if they hear nothing, then just kind of ignore it.
We started, Elijah, we're reaching out to the different municipalities, and then we have like the typical number you call, the Public Works, but we're also going to an escalation list, so like the commissioner, or the supervisors themselves, we're going to have their contact info, so if things aren't happening, we're going to make that call.
I told staff I want to know every municipality and the point of contact 24/7 through a storm, so we can call and say, when are you going to do the lot, and we could call to confirm that the lot was done, because at some point we need to know if it wasn't done. Because a couple things, it's for us to go through everything we do to get the trains running and the platforms clear, only to find you can't park is not a good story, and as you say, the railroad's going to be blamed regardless of who's responsible.
But these localities collect money for parking, don't they, from these lots?
Some do, some more and more.
Some
more
do, some
locations
say it's
and
not
more
enough, some want to raise the
I know, but let them raise it. People don't like to hear that, but maybe Lorimer Commission should propose legislation that if they don't clear the snow in time, they should lose their revenue.
So a couple
Not
things.
that would pass the state legislature.
Or
because,
penalty of some kind.
yeah, they lose the revenue for an entire year, and then they'll be out there with the plows.
I've only had a chance to meet with some of the local entities so far, and one of the things that I've asked the team to see about putting in our 5-year program is some sort of, and I don't know if it's county-wide and have one for Nassau, one for Suffolk, or Long Island-wide, but I'm thinking every parking lot has paving needs, cleaning needs, striping needs, lighting needs, snowplow needs, and I'm thinking of some sort of county-wide contract that we put out and leverage, quantity to get better prices.
And they can reimburse?
And then let the locals use that contract if they think it's good for them. And we're still working through it, but I want to see how we can leverage buying power across all the municipalities.
I'm sure you saw our op-ed, asking for our op-ed.
I know you had talked about parking.
Asking for a parking authority. Parking authorities that would control and oversee all this. That's kind of feeding into what you're saying.
Well,
they would at least do all these things, and there'll be a point of contact for all the parking lots.
I don't know if I want to be the parking authority.
No.
We're saying someone separate.
I know, but in some ways I do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're responsible because everyone says we are. I'm not saying I can't just say, well, call Smithtown because they didn't do it, right?
But you can't tell Smithtown how to do their rates or how much they charge. Where this, I'm not sure it's going to go. But first, there would be authority that would be set. All those
which maybe you'd be on the board of the authority.
So
I mean, I hate another level of bureaucracy.
The whole parking thing is something I've been pushing staff on. First of all, I want our maps to be better. Not only just show where the parking is, I want to show the regulations, right? Because whenever we have an incident, we say use the wrong Concomar branch. I don't want people to go there and find that they can't park there because it's permit only, right? Or they're going to get tickets. Or so I've asked them to update all the maps to put the local regulations. And, they were worried, well, what if it changes? Well, then put a caveat that this is accurate as of such and such a date. And then we could put where there's free parking. And then something maybe longer range that I'm trying to see is the ability to have, and I might have said this once before, you see it at malls, you have how many spots are available still, right? 300 spots, 250 are free, right? And now it's going to change as the time goes on. But at least if somebody has an issue on Port Jeff and they say, all right, I'm going to try and get to Central Islip, you know, there's something that says there's still 100 spots. If it says it's full, then why go unless you're getting dropped off? So I want to see if there's a way to leverage technology that exists. And I know it's money, still everything's going to cost money. But there has to be a better way to send people to alternate locations. You know, the other thing is the last mile, and whether it's going to stations or leave, you know, as reverse commute picks up. I need to figure out that piece too, because, you know, we're going to try and get people from the west to come east. They still need to get to their final destination, right? And not every business is going to have a shuttle, and you know, so, you know, is it eventually cars for hire, or is it eventually more bicycles? And you know, and obviously then you have to start working with the local community, DOTs, and the local towns to have safe biking routes. But all of this needs to be looked at, and we've been so focused, and you know, we have a lot to focus on, just the railroad. But all these other components add to or take away from the commuter you know, experience. So I've thrown a lot at the staff, but I think it's important that we focus on these things.
May I ask, so Metro North has a different model of the way they handle their parking. Have you looked at the way they do it? And I know that a number of years ago they introduced zip cars because they have responsibility for more of their parking areas so that they can do things like that. So just, since I know that you talked with Kathy and have that kind of dialogue, I'm just wondering if there's any kind of lessons learned or best practices that you're working with either, you know, Metro North or any of the other railroads around.
We've been talking with Metro North on a number of things, but this is one that I haven't spoken to her about yet. Zip cars is an option for us too, certainly. You know, Ubers, Lyfts, zip cars. And, you know, the one thing we did talk about it with NICE a few weeks back, we went and Jack Jesus and we talked about, you know, opportunities for some sort of on-call bus service through NICE, and you know, they're doing it now, I think, for some of their routes, and maybe there's a way that we can use something like that to support our railroad stations.
At Great Neck, they're going to introduce like a smaller shuttle bus service that kind of is on, like using an app. It'll pick you up at a certain corner in your neighborhood to get you to the station and circulate you. So they're going to test it out in Great Neck. Then they want to do it at Port Washington, and they're going to try to expand it if possible.
Well, hopefully it works. They used to do stride that
We-
in Plainview, and sometimes the bus would just never show up. It just wouldn't go down the route. I mean, it was just, you know. Since you're talking about this issue, can you talk about this Hicksville parking app that you guys released?
Oh no, at
Mineola.
Mineola, can you talk about?
That was Phil's
I know anything about, so maybe you can fill us in on it.
Well, it's really, you know, there's mobile technology out there, right? And everybody is rushing to make trains. Everybody's in a hurry, and the ability to pay for parking and right on your phone is, I think, it's a huge thing, right?
I don't think everybody knows what exactly the program is, so maybe you can just give a little synopsis of what it is.
Well, I've not tested it myself, but the whole notion is that you pick your spot with your phone, and you can pay for it on your phone. If you didn't put enough money in it, you could add time to it from your phone. So if you're, bad example, say if your train is late, but you know, if for some reason you're not back in the car on time, you can add money, and you can monitor it, and it also sends you an alert when you're running out of money. So the whole notion is that we're trying to save every minute for our customers, and we're trying to make it better.
New York City has that.
You mean if you're stuck at work late, a quarter later?
If you're stuck at work late, exactly.
No, they do it in New York.
Yeah, we have you pay by an app. A lot of cities do it. I've been to a lot of cities.
So on the way in, I reached out. I think that launched today. That app. We have 900 spots in Mineola. I think so far 50 people used it today.
Okay.
To pay, and
Oh,
100 people downloaded it. 100 people downloaded it just since this morning.
I think you're gonna it's gonna.
But they've been out there the last few days leafleting customers, so the ones that use Mineola, so they know about it. So
the word of mouth will spread like wildfire with that kind
Particularly Mineola, it's one that is always a challenge.
And then Wyandanch will be next. They're going to expand it to Wyandanch within, I think, a few months.
There you go.
Well, the problem with Wyandanch is the cost. You know, obviously, it's expensive. Can you give us some update on the M9s? What's happening with them?
They're in testing right now. We still continue to try and push Kawasaki to find ways to accelerate delivery of them. And you know, all the extra amenities are going to be great for the customers. But you know, just using that M9 procurement as an example is why I'm trying to find a way to procure cars differently from this one. You know, the 5-year time frame to get them. Granted, there were issues getting them, but even the other time frame, you know, if they were on schedule, I think was not enough. And by the time you get them, you know, I want to make sure that things are plug and play in the future. I want to look at different cars. So these M9s are going to be critical to us, right? They're built on following the M7s, which have been our most reliable fleet, and they do address a lot of customer needs. And I think we could do even better with the next procurement.
A lot of our recommendations were ignored, so maybe next time.
Okay, I didn't know that, but you know, so the notion is the first 92 and then 110 additional. That will go a long way to replenishing our fleet. At the same time, you know, the M3s will continue to be used because we don't have the luxury of getting rid of them yet. But at the same time, you know, I'm doing everything I can to try and find a way to accelerate those because, you know, they just can't get here soon enough. But what we are doing on the N7s, you know, I think, you know, I've been reporting out at the board, the work on those threshold plates has been accelerated, and the reliability of the M7s has gone up, particularly with the door issues. And, you know, so the work that Craig Daly and his maintenance of equipment team is doing is focusing on those things that are causing us the most delays on the fleet. He's tackling the diesel fleet now, and we're working hard to see if we could find diesel coaches for next summer. In addition to procuring, you know, in the M9A procurement, we're going to add diesel coaches to that as well. And I don't know why, for the life of me, we didn't have diesel coaches in something earlier, because it's, you know, what our customers go through in the summer is something I don't want them to go through next summer. And I don't want to rely on another agency leasing them to us, because like we did last year, they could pull the string out. We could be short again. So, you know, the fleet is something that the next program is going to focus heavily on. And not just
I know we
electric,
asked
but
in the past,
diesel.
will we get in one too?
Right, that we had been promised, but who knows what'll happen when it comes out. We passed the promise that we at least, because we're gonna get questions, and we could just see one before it.
We'll get everyone on before it goes out, yes, we will.
One of the things that came up at the last meeting was the signage.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to them separately if I can. I mean, I, if you don't mind, it's kind of small, but if you don't mind, 3
No.
recommendations at
We're here.
the Wyatt Edge station, 3 that I can tell you since I take it every day. So it's new. One is, it'd be nice if we had a sign, even if it's outside, as what the station room hours are, because no one knows when it's open and closed.
Okay.
I know you don't want, it's so nice inside, you don't want to put it there, but maybe outside.
They're coming up with a way, because they don't want to mess up the new stations they were doing them, so they're
I
coming
figured
up
it was
with,
probably about
they're coming up with